All right, so we're going to talk about storylines and connected clips now. So let's just hit play on what we have right here.
Yep, dead. Anyone? No.
Let's get rid of this freeze frame that we created before. Extend this a little bit so we get the rest of this line.
Did anyone? No.
There you go. So that's all we want, these two little clips right here.
Yep, dead.
A wide shot of them saying, he's, yep, dead.
Did anyone? No.
And then it cuts to this shot of from the side. Did anyone? No. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. You can delete anything else in the sequence. We're just going to go one less at a time. And now we're going to connect two clips to on top of this. So since we're looking at the front of them, let's go ahead, change our view to the thumbnail view, and we'll go to this clip of them from behind. Go ahead and set an in point by hitting I. It doesn't really matter where you're setting it because you're not seeing their mouths move from the back, and that's why we're going to use it as sort of a secondary clip, so to speak. So hit I, hit play, 1, 2 seconds, go ahead, hit stop, and set your out point. Now go ahead and hit Q, which is going to attach this as a connected clip. As you can see, this little connection here to this clip is what's telling you that it's a connected clip. Now if we were to take this clip and move it somewhere else, as you can see, the connected clip comes along. Let's go ahead and move that back over there. Now let's say we needed to get rid of this piece of the edit, but obviously this clip was connected onto that portion. So you'll see the connection point literally moves along with you as you edit. But let's say you were to get all the way to here to the end, and well, now you wanted to actually move this clip all together. And instead of having it connected to this clip here, you wanted to connect it to this clip over here. Well, you could simply move it like that over there, but as you'll see, it's still connected to this first clip. So what you can do to intentionally reconnect connected clips to other clips is to literally just hold down Option and Command simultaneously and simply click on the connected clip at the point where you want to connect it to the primary clip below. So as you can see here, click, and you've now connected it to this clip. So let's say if we wanted to delete this clip now, we're good to do that because it's no longer connected to it. Now if we wanted to delete this clip, you'll see it deletes the connected clip. So let's say we wanted to move it back to this other one, hold down Command and Option, click on the connected clip, and you've moved that connection back. So you can delete this and you won't lose the connected clip. Let's move this connected clip down over here a little bit. And let's now take this clip and drag it on top as a second connected clip right next to each other. So as you can see now, you move this clip around and the connected clips will go along with it. But let's say I wanted to add a fade in between these two shots right here. Well, as you probably know by now, you can hit Command T and that will add a fade transition right here. But as you see, it created this wonky little gray outline around these two clips. And now when we go to move this, it still moves along with it. But if you grab one of these connected clips and attempt to drag it, you'll see weird stuff starts happening. You can drag it out back into the primary storyline or even add it as a connected clip over here, but you still get this wonky gray outline thing over here. That's because this is now a secondary storyline. You cannot add fades to connected clips, and so when you added the fade to the connected clips, it created a secondary storyline. Now if you wanted to move this storyline all together, let's say we wanted to put this guy back in there, you can drag it carefully, wait for it to queue up and drop it back in, but now we can drag not just the single clip, but grab the gray area itself to drag and move that to a different position. So essentially, secondary storylines are sort of like compound clips without being compounded. You can move them around in their entirety around the edit. And this is useful if you have, let's say, a series of more complicated fades and you want to make sure that they all stay correctly timed together. you would essentially be creating a compound clip of sorts by putting them all into a secondary storyline. Because if you wanted to avoid using a secondary storyline but still having a fade, you can do the following. Go ahead and delete this fade by selecting it and hitting delete. Go ahead and select these clips and right-click on them and go to Lift from Storyline. Now you'll see that first clip got lifted. Right-click the second one, Lift from Storyline. And you'll see these are now connected clips. The connections are going behind this gray area here to this clip panel over here. As you can see, it'll move it along. But you can go ahead and select the grade storyline and hit delete, and it'll just delete it. At that point, it's just a container. There's nothing going on there. Let's say we wanted to have a fade happen between these two clips on top of this lower level video clip, but we didn't want to add a secondary storyline. What you can do in that instance is take this clip and drag it to the right to where you want the fade out to end. Take this clip, drag it to the left where you want the fade in to begin. And now, instead of using a crossfade dissolve, you're simply going to use the opacities. Now, you can right click, go to Show Video Animation, drop down this little triangle, go ahead and option click on this 2 times over onto the left, drag this opacity down to 0, and you can go ahead and drag the 100% opacity over to the right a little bit. Go ahead and drop this back down. And now for the bottom clip, do the same thing, expand the video animation, and this time when we do the drop down for the opacity, we are going to have 2 clips on the back end for them to be faded out. And now, as you can see, we have this clip that starts with the fade out and this one that starts with the fade in over each other, and so you do
Did anyone?
have
No.
that same kind of cross dissolve
Did anyone? No.
on top of the lower layer here in a very similar way that you would if you had done it with a crossfade. So the last thing I'll show you is, in order to create a secondary storyline, you don't have to add a fade. You can actually do it with a keyboard shortcut by taking said clip, dragging it next to another connected clip, and holding down the G button. As you'll see, the little gray outline for the secondary storyline appears. Simply drop it, and you've created a secondary storyline there. Now, again, there are other reasons you might want to create secondary storylines to organize your footage, but we can go into that later in another tutorial. For now, let's move on to the timeline index, talk a little bit more about roles, lanes, and markers.